Hey everyone, welcome back to Kalay Plants. It's me again, Mark, and today we're back at the greenhouse. And if you already checked out the title of this video, I will be highlighting some of the acclimating mistakes that some of us do and some of these things that I have done myself in the past, which is why a lot of my newly bought succulents didn't acclimate successfully because of these mistakes. So I will be highlighting that, but before that I will be showing to you the plants that we have here, those new haul. Okay, I unboxed those last night, and yeah, I just want to give them a quick rundown of what these plants are and where they came from, so that you can have an idea on what plants you would like to probably buy this season or this year. And I think I've already had a lot of recommendations for you guys. There's a lot of choices with succulents right now because a lot of these varieties have gotten much cheaper, so we have a lot more to choose from if you're planning to add more to your collection. And also, this will be a follow-up to the last video that I uploaded this week, which is about desiccation. And I know some of you were concerned with desiccation because I actually said in that video that I'm adding more organic material to my potting mix right now. So some of you are concerned, would that make my succulents rot? Would that increase the chances of overwatering on my succulents? So I think I wanted to highlight that with this video as well. So now let's go on to our first topic. I think I want to show to you my new succulents first before we go on to the rest of our topics for this video. Okay, so let's check this out. Here are all the plants that we have, and actually some of these I might be confused with the ID. Currently it's raining, by the way. So some of these I will be confused with the ID because I'm not sure, but some of these I'm actually quite confident what types they are. This actually came from 3 different sellers, from Saki's shop line, from Z Drake Succulents, and also from Ma'am Esther Bauidan, if I'm not mistaken. That's the name of the main seller who shipped these plants. So she collected all the plants from different sellers, and we have those 3 batches combined in this one and in this tray as well. Okay, so now let's just go on to our plants. This one came from Z Drake. Okay, this is the red Chantilly. Okay, I hope that the light will be sufficient, but this one is the red form of the Chantilly. I don't know if it's the same plant, but this one turns much more red. In some markets this is sold as dragon fin Echeveria. Okay, really nice color on that. Some dried leaves here at the bottom. Okay, but that's not an issue, and really nice color, really healthy leaves on this. And this is an Echeveria gibiflora, so I think that this will be a much more resilient variety, and this will just grow continuously here. Okay, next one is this Echeveria Bluebird. I've actually tried Bluebird several times before, and this is actually hopefully the last plant that I will be trying out. Okay, some other growers sell pink bluebirds, and some other call this blue bluebird, but that is the same plant. Okay, the bluebird turns pink if it's stressed, but if it is not stressed, it will stay bluish in color. And also this one has a habit of skirting, or their bottom leaves will try to, they will not grow in a tight rosette. They will skirt. They will look like they're folded downwards, okay, once it grows tall enough. So that is normal for that type of succulent. This one is an Echeveria Lilacina. I already have this plant. This is given as a freebie. Okay, you can see here. So you can see the quality of my growing skills is already in par with the growing skills of those in the highlands, because they're already looking the same. Okay, and this one is just as thick as this one as well. So I'm really glad with this Lilacina. Actually, this one has been sunburned, and I thought that it was dying. I thought it was dead, and I was about to throw it away, but I planted it, I keep caring for it, and now it's growing like this, and we have an extra one. Okay, really nice. Next one, this is Echeveria Tuxpan. Okay, this is a smaller leafed Echeveria, and the stem on this one is really thick, by the way, really thick, and that is a nice touch on that plant compared with your other Echeverias, which will have smaller stems. This one has a really nice stem. Tells me that this plant is already a mature one, and it's a nice smaller rosette that grows into this spherical ball shape. So I really like this one. Adds a little different texture to our collection. This is our Haggai tolimanensis. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that. Okay, so it's kind of cloudy today, which is why the light is not so good. So the Haggai tolimanensis, I've had this plant before. I've killed it. The old plant of mine that I had this before. Really nice color, really nice thick leaves. But there is also another tolimanensis variety that goes around, which has much more whiter farina, and that one looks like the unguiculata, and this one looks something like a Pachyphytum. But they're both being sold as tolimanensis here in the Philippines, and I don't know if that's just me or or if they're really the same tolimanensis. I don't know. So now we have our next, this one, getting really crowded here. Okay, this is Graptopetalum elen. So that's just a small two-headed, four-headed elen that they gave as a freebie. Really nice. Okay, I might be able to grow that and sell that later because I have a lot of elen. We have our Echeveria nodulosa right here. I really like this nodulosa variety. There are a lot of different varieties of nodulosa. Okay, but I really like this one. This has much more brighter color compared with the other nodulosa that I'm seeing. But I'm also liking the other nodulosa. I think I would get the purple one next. But I already have these plants before, a smaller plant, and yeah, that one died as well. Okay, so you can pretty much guess what I mean if I said that I had a plant before. It would usually mean that I killed it. Okay, next one is the Echeveria Viant, and surprise surprise, I already had this plant before as well, and a much bigger one before, but that one died as well. Okay, so I'm looking to replace that one that I lost. And this one, I'm not sure if this is the Rubidona or the Opalina. There's actually two of these. Okay, they kind of look like the same, but I know one of these is the Opalina and one is the Rubidona, so I'm just not sure which is which. That's what I'm confused with. So probably this is the Rubidona because they said that it was a small plant, and this is the Opalina. Okay, but they're looking the same. They have that same pinkish glow. Okay, so really nice. Okay, we also have an Echeveria Albicans. Okay, yeah, I think it's an Albicans. I don't think this is a green eyes, and this one is given as a freebie, so I'm not sure of the idea of this one, but it's got a nice little pop right here. Okay, another pop is included in that. This one is Pachyveria Sky Beauty or Pachyphytum Sky Beauty. Really nice thick leaves on that one, and I really like the way that they air dried this plant because you can see the roots are very clean, not a lot of soil when I unboxed it. So this was pretty much how the plant looks when I took off the tissue. And this is the Sky Beauty. You can see here on the rosette of that one, it has those tips that look like the compactum, and really nice. I don't know if the leaves will get much more striations later on. Okay, but really nice Pachyphytum or Pachyphytum hybrid. Okay, so there's that. And we also have here at the bottom, we also have a panda plant pop. Okay, let me just lay this down very carefully. We also have this panda plant. I'm not sure if this is the black tie or if this is just the normal one, but this one has much more darker tips, so I would think that this is the black tie. Really lovely Kalanchoe tomentosa. Okay, and I like the leaves on this one, really thick, really nice. Okay, we also have our jewel tone. Okay, let me just easily take out this tag. Okay, I don't know why sellers put tags on the plant itself because I'm actually cringing every time they do that, because I don't like putting anything on the rosette because the farina will be broken off. So we have that jewel tone, another Pachyveria hybrid. Really nice, really big plant, really large rosette, and really chubby leaves. And you can see here on my hand, it just fills my hand really nicely, and it's really soft because it's still dry. Okay, and that is the other thick plant that we have that seems like it's losing leaves, but it's not. Okay, very careful. This is the Pachyveria flambeau. Okay, I thought this was a small size when this was shown to me on the live selling, but it's a really nice large Pachyphytum hybrid. I really like the finger-like leaves on this one, and the loose rosette. It adds a little more variety to our collection. Okay, oops. Okay, I think I just dropped a leaf. Okay, really sad. So now you also have this Echeveria momoka. This is the variegated version of the Echeveria Peach Pride. Okay, let's put this one here so I can take the other. This is the variegated version, and this is the, they call this the momoka. So once it grows, okay, so you can probably see here, I just zoomed in on the video because it's raining outside and I don't want to go out. So that is the Peach Pride we have there, and this is the variegated version. Okay, this is the variegated version of that. Okay, really nice, and I like the whitish variegation on this one. And I think that this is a stable variegation compared with your other succulents. I think this one has a much more stable variegation. The next plant, the large trailing sedum that we have here, that is sedum burrito or donkey tail. So this is another one, another form of the sedum burrito. The other form is the round leaf one, which we have here. Okay, and I have my other burrito also here. I took this from the arrangement outside and I'm letting it root again because I could cut off the ends. So we're gonna hang this later as well. It's gonna go there. And this one, the sedum donkey tail or burrito or morganianum, okay, if I'm not mistaken, this one has much more pointed leaves and this is more prone to leaf dropping, if I'm not mistaken again, compared with the rounder leaf variety. But this one is much more rare here in the Philippines. It's not as expensive as your very rare varieties. It's still an affordable succulent, but it's not as readily available. I think sellers don't often sell this one. They sell the super donkey tail much more often than this one. And if you're wondering what the super donkey tail is, okay, right beside the Peach Pride, that is the super donkey tail. It has a different look, much more compact leaves on that one because it is a Echeveria, and it has a much more larger growth compared with the morganianum that we have. Okay, this is a Echeveria. The sedum that we have is a sedum, not a Echeveria hybrid. Okay, so this is a sedum. Next one, this is an Echeveria Ariel. Really nice chubby Echeveria and a pinkish one. Okay, so I'm actually adding more Korean type succulents here because you can see here all the Echeverias that we have are basic. Some of them are Korean, but some of them are, you know, basic. It's actually when I was starting collecting, I was going towards more of the classic type succulents because I don't want, or I want to try out those classic type succulents first before I was introduced to more Korean varieties. So now that I have knowledge on some of the Korean varieties, I'm actually trying to start collecting them as well. So this is the first of many that I will be collecting. The Beyond is one of those Korean varieties. The Tuxpan, okay. So I'm just actually starting out with these much more rarer imported succulents, really. Ones that are not the classy type varieties, okay. This is Echeveria Kissing. This is a Gibiflora, and I really like the reddish look on this one. I'm actually planning to collect more Gibifloras, and I wanted those ones that have more unique shapes to them because some Gibifloras will tend to look the same. Okay, this one is much more unique. So Echeveria Kissing, really nice. And also the Echeveria Pistachio, and this is also a large Echeveria. It's actually very heavy. Okay, Pistachio, that is a Benguet propagated succulent, really nice. And the thickness, I had to adjust it with two hands. And the thickness of this one, okay, kind of reminds me of a Harry Watson, but this is an Echeveria. Okay, really nice wavy appearance on the leaves. I think that will add a nice texture to our garden. This is the final plant that I got, and this is a freebie. This is an Agavoides crest, probably a starlight crest. And you can see here, it really has that fan shaped appearance, like it's a mermaid's tail. Really nice. Okay, I don't think I want to put it back because the leaves are getting mushy on that one. Okay, but this is the larger one, and this is a really large crest, really large. And some people, I believe, if they will propagate this plant, they will just cut off a pad and they will let it root, and then they have another crested succulent. So we have that. Really nice. Okay. So now let me just take a seat and we can talk about the acclimating mistakes that beginners often do. Okay. Okay, so now we're sitting and I have some plant examples to show to you. Here are the recently repotted succulents that I have. We have our Echeveria Madiba, we have our Echeveria Romeo, okay, and we have our Echeveria Cubic Frost. Now I have very different looking succulents here because they're very different. They are in very different stages of their life. Okay, so now when it comes to acclimating your succulents, this is thinking that I had before, that succulents really don't like to be planted in a lot of organic materials. So that's my thinking when I first started with succulents, and actually that is the thought that first comes to growers, to a lot of growers. Last year, they had this thinking that succulents need a lot of pumice to survive, to thrive, so that they will not die, and because succulents are desert plants. Okay, so I think the first mistake that I wanted to highlight is not adding a lot of not adding enough organic materials to your succulents potting mix, because what it does to the plant is that it makes the plant desiccate, because the plant will lose a lot of leaves trying to make roots which will not be establishing. The roots will not attach to anything without organic materials in their potting mix. So which is why now I'm actually adding more organic materials to my potting mix, and I'm also using larger size pumice. So you can see here on the Madiba that we have that I'm using a larger size pumice on its potting mix, and also I'm trying to still add some smaller size pumice, but I'm actually adding more larger size pumice and organic materials as well. And I'm striving on my potting mixes that I don't add too much pumice, that it will be the major part of the potting mix. Right now I'm trying to make it so that I have the soil components or the organic components to be more than the pumice components, and the pumice components to be larger in size so that the soil will not compact very much, because the pumice is large in size, so the soil will not compact that much. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only potting mix that succulents will thrive in, and I'm not saying that all succulents will like this type of potting mix. So some succulents you will still have to adjust, you will still have to know how to adjust for your succulents. But some succulents, some people will actually be able to grow succulents in these heavy inorganic material mixes that has a very little soil. So probably they're using Akadama or Kanuma. So some other people will have success on that. So I'm not saying that you will not have success on that, but I'm saying that right now what I'm finding out with my succulents is that they're showing much more signs of growth and establishing quickly and much more faster acclimation if I add a lot more organic materials in their potting mix. So I would not say that this is the only way to grow succulents. And also, this is also the reason why I'm not making a potting mix video on my latest potting mix, on my latest ratio. But I would say that around 50-50 would be a nice starting ground when it comes to making potting mixes for your succulents, because I've fallen into this trap of making exact ratios before, and those ratios that I used on my other succulents, they were not growing well, they were not doing well in that ratio. So now I'm actually very cautious on what information that I will be sharing, because I don't want to share a potting mix that will just ultimately give you headaches later on. So I'm actually trying to look at the mixes. I'm actually making different mixes on my different succulents to see how they would react. And you can see some of my succulents don't actually react very well right away. Some of the succulents that I have will still look ugly, okay, but for now I think this is not the major thing that happens to my newly bought succulents. This is just one special plant that just managed to look like that, okay. But not all of the succulents that I had looks like this. Some other succulents that I have is looking better actually, okay. This one, Simulans Ascension, okay, so you can see here this is a newly bought succulent. This had been with me for about a few weeks, and you can see that we don't have a lot of desiccation on this one. So now I'm finding that this plant really likes the potting mix that it's in. Now if a plant will not tolerate that kind of potting mix, probably I will transfer it later on to much more looser potting mix. But this one, you can see here, even on my Echeveria Agaboides Romeo, you probably know that in my past garden tours that this plant doesn't look like this, and I'm actually surprised that it started looking like this, because this didn't look like this before. It was actually very dry and very closed. Now it's getting much more open and the leaves are much more thicker because I added a lot more organic materials into its potting mix. So yeah, so I just wanted to show to you more evidences of that. This one was planted in a very pumice heavy potting mix. This is Echeveria cubic frost, and I'm not buying any cubic frost because this one looks ugly. But now I transferred it into a much more organic material heavy potting mix. You can see a lot of pumice in here, but under it there's actually a lot of organic materials on that. So now I'm trying to see if the plant will like this one. So you could probably do this with your ugly looking succulents, you know, because they're already ugly looking. So there's really not a waste if you're gonna try adding more organic materials, okay, because that will be your last option. So you can try add more organic materials. If they fail, well, they were already dying in the first place, but if it works for them, then you will have a much more beautiful succulent. That's what I did with my Echeveria Nevada. Actually, it was shrinking. I added a lot more organic materials to it before I threw it away, and now it's thriving. It's looking good. So you can experiment on that. I would not say that you really have to follow exactly everything of what I'm saying in here. You can experiment. If it fails on you, then you can probably try a different ratio. You can probably adjust the potting mix that you have. So this is not a one and done information for you guys. I would just say that it's a mistake to plant your succulents in pure pumice, because actually if you think about it, if you look at growers in Benguet in the highlands, they don't grow mother-sized succulents in pure pumice. You will not find any plant on their online selling that are planted in pure pumice or in very pumice heavy potting mixes and that have grown really large. So some succulents will actually stay compact. They can still survive, but they will stay compact if you put them in a pumice heavy potting mix. Okay, so succulents will do that. Now let's just go over to the next problem. The next mistake that you're doing with your acclimating succulents is you're not giving them enough sunlight. Some beginner growers will actually find these resources online that succulents need bright indirect sunlight on their succulents. Now, bright indirect sunlight doesn't mean that your succulent is not getting hit by the sun. So some other people think that because it's indirect sunlight, that they will have to be moved away from the direct rays of the sun. But that is actually not true. Succulents will appreciate to be having direct sun on them, and those information that are saying that you should put them in indirect sunlight are saying that you should add cover to the sunlight before it hits the succulent. Okay, you should add cover. That will be the indirect sunlight. But if you put it in the shade, okay, this is indirect sunlight and this is the shade, then that is already not good for your succulents, because succulents, most succulents, especially the Echeveria, the rosette varieties, they will need 5 to 6 hours of direct sun in order to thrive, to grow continuously. If you put them in a shaded area, that is not bright indirect sun, that is a shady area. So you might want to give them bright indirect sun under a cover like a plastic cover that we use in a greenhouse, or you can just put them in bright direct sunlight, because succulents can also thrive in direct sunlight. I have my succulents outside. It's actually raining right now. I'm actually kind of concerned because some of them might get rot, but actually I'm not that bothered anymore because they've been there for a while, so I think that they will just continuously grow. But I don't see burning on my succulents that are grown outside. So this could probably be a me thing here in the highlands, because I live in a quite highland location. I don't live in a very lowland location, but it's not as cold as the highlands in Benguet in my location. So I would not say that it's very, very cold here. We also get some scorching hot sun, some scorching temperatures sometimes, very rarely. Probably you will have a lot more hotter conditions there in the lowlands, in Metro Manila, around Metro Manila, so you'll probably get much more hotter temperatures there. In that case, you might want to add a filter to your sunlight so that your succulent will not burn, but I would still recommend you don't put them in shade. So for example, if a window is getting hit by sunlight, but one side of it is not getting hit anymore, not getting the direct rays of the sun anymore, don't put your succulents there. Put your succulents somewhere they will get in the direct contact with the rays of the sun. So just give them a lot of sunlight. Now some other people will also have the mistake of putting their succulents in too much sun and then not adding organic materials to their potting mix. So that is an acclimation mistake that you can also do, because some other people will be concerned again with the potting mix of the succulents. So they plant them in a lot of pommies and then they will give them a lot of sun, and then the plant will just lose leaves and it will not produce any roots. And they keep on checking the roots of their plants if it has roots under it, and if it doesn't have any roots, then they will just not water it. They will let the plant dry out and then they will not water it because it doesn't have any roots until there is nothing left but a stem of what used to be a large size succulent. So I actually saw one grower recently. I will probably send that grower this video because I saw it on Facebook. He had this plant. This is a variegated Tito Vance variegated apricot. Now some other people are saying that this is a very slow rooter, because people make this mistake of checking their plant's roots. They uproot their plants to see if it has roots. No, I would not recommend that. If your plant is planted, don't take it out of its pot anymore. You will disrupt the rooting process even further. And if the plant is already in a very hot sun location, then just water it after a week. After a week of planting it, just water it. Don't bother if it has roots or not, because the plant will just naturally root on its own. If the potting mix is dry and it's been in bright direct sun for about a week, just water it. And then if it's not yet getting thick, if you see your plant is not still getting thick, just water it once the potting mix is dry again. And I would really recommend that if you add more organic materials to your potting mix. I actually did that with one of my new succulents, this one. So I keep watering this plant really because it keeps getting dry, and this is newly watered, by the way. Okay, this is Echeveria, so this is Graptopetalum amethysinum, and you can see here that this is a really thick succulent, and you can see that I have more organic materials into its potting mix. Okay, so that is just some pommies on top, but there's actually a lot of organic materials down there. Okay, so this plant used to be very difficult for me. I killed my old amethysinum because it was planted in a clay container and it had a lot of pommies. So now I tried planting it in a plastic container and adding more organic materials. And once this dries up, the plant is not firm enough, if it's kind of wonky, if it's kind of soft, if it's not very firm, then I will just continue watering. I will water it again once the potting mix is dry. So I still check if the potting mix is dry already, and then I water it back again. And you can see here, there's not a lot of desiccation on this one. You can see the leaves have stayed on the plant. Okay, you don't see a lot of bare stems, and you can see on the tips of the plant there is already some clean looking farina. So that's how I know that the plant is already producing growth, if it has clean farina. Because usually if you unbox succulents, you will smudge their farina, or the farina will be smudged once they go through shipping, because sellers will put tissue on them. So now it has a lot more cleaner farina. That means that the plant is already producing growth here in my location, with the care that I'm giving to it. So now that's what I would recommend. You can just try experimenting on it. If you really are doubting my suggestion or my tips, you can try experimenting on it first, and then you can give me feedback if I'm mistaken, if I'm making the wrong tips, if I'm sending the wrong tips. I will adjust my tips later on if you're seeing that your plants are dying. So I would just still recommend that you wait for your potting mix to dry out, still add a little more organic material to the potting mix, and give them bright, direct or indirect sunlight for about 5 to 6 hours. Now, currently it's the rainy season, so my newly bought succulents, currently it's raining, not the rainy season, but currently it's raining. So I'm letting my newly bought succulents get sunlight here in the greenhouse because it will not be scorching hot. So when it's raining, if you have a cover in your area, you can put your succulents under the cover so they will not get rain, but they will get a lot of sunlight. That will help them establish much more quicker. That will help them adjust to your location without getting sunburned. So which is why I would actually recommend you buy succulents at the beginning of spring, and then you stop buying during the summer, because by the summertime they will already be established and they will already be able to take the heat. Okay, but if you buy during the summer, then that is the time that you might see sunburn on your succulents, because they have not rooted yet and they're already getting heat, so that will cause them to burn and will cause them to root much more slowly. So buy before the summer, so which is why now I'm actually buying a lot of succulents, because it's not yet summer. Okay, now on to the third mistake, and that is not watering your succulents. I think we already touched on that on our discussions earlier. If you don't water your succulents, they will not root, and I would not recommend again that you uproot your succulent to check if they have roots already. If they are planted as a bare stem, as with this one, okay, I planted this as a bare stem, Gryptopetalum. Okay, if they're planted as a bare stem succulent, don't uproot them to check if they have roots. Let them root in there by watering them after a week. Okay, so I will not, okay, so you can see here, I will just uproot it just for your entertainment, okay? But I don't usually uproot my succulents like this. So you can see here, it doesn't have any roots yet. Why? I haven't been watering this one yet. Okay, but if you start watering on it and you're sure that it's been planted for about a week and the potting mix is dry and the stem is calloused over, when you're sure that the stem doesn't have any open wounds, so when you're sure that the stem is already calloused over, you can start watering it. Okay, I think somebody bought this succulent, and yeah, I think I'm gonna ship it later, so I'm not gonna root it actually. I'm not gonna root it because I'm gonna be selling this as a cutting. Okay, I think somebody bought that one. Okay, so now, yeah, that's what you do. Plant your cutting first, and then after planting it, or if you already air dried it for about a week, then you plant it and then you water it. Or I would say that you just need to let your plant dry out for about a week, not more than that. If you stretch it out for very long, your plant may desiccate already and you will not be able to establish it quickly enough. So after about a week, probably 3 days air drying and then 4 days potted up, so that combined will already be a week of dryness for your succulent. And then after that week, you just started watering. You don't water a lot if you're concerned about your plant. Water it a little bit on the top, and then when it's dry, water it again until you can see that your plant is attaching to your potting mix. And you can see here on this one, this had been with me for about, I think it didn't take 2 weeks yet. Okay, probably not 3 weeks yet, but you can see here when I move this madiba, it's already attached. Okay, it's already attached on there. Okay, but I will show you a clip on the side of when I first got it. It wasn't rooted, but now after watering it about one time, I think I just watered this one time, and you can see it already attached itself. So there's that. Okay, so I would say that this is a successfully acclimated succulent. Okay, and I don't see any rotting on this Echeveria madiba. So I will not say that this is the case for a lot of Echeverias. Some Echeverias will be much more slower to root, probably the Purpusorum varieties, but some Echeverias will be much more quicker. Gryptopetalums will be much more quicker, and sedums are actually very quick to root. So sedums, if you don't water them right away, they will desiccate very quickly because they will really produce a lot of fruits very quickly, so which is why they will drop a lot of leaves. So if you don't acclimate your sedums right away, you will see a lot of desiccation on them. So in Echeverias, they will also desiccate if you neglect them for too long. So I would say that if you're acclimating succulents, don't plant them and forget about them for forever. Learn when to start watering them, learn when to start giving them sunlight, and then really study on the potting mix that they will really like, and don't neglect them too much. They are not rocks. Okay, they're still plants. Some people will call them rock plants because they come from rocky areas, but they are still plants and they will still appreciate some more care, some watering, and some organic materials in their potting mix. Okay, so now I think that this video has already turned into a rant video because I really just wanted to share my side on growing these succulents, because growing these succulents really is a passion for me. I really dedicate a lot of my time trying to grow these succulents, finding out the best care for them, which is why I'm sharing them in these videos. Actually, when I share something on a video, that means that I actually studied it for a little while. So I'm not going in this blindly. I'm not just blindly throwing out tips, and if I find a mistake, I will actually highlight them even further. If you already know, I have some mistake videos on my channel. Okay, and this is another mistake video that I will be highlighting mistakes that I've made in the past. And I'm not just ranting on people who make these mistakes, but I'm actually making this video also to teach myself not to repeat these mistakes again in the future. And now I'm actually finding a lot more growth on my succulents, which is why you can see I'm confident about buying a lot of succulents again, because back then you already know that there was a time that I stopped buying succulents because I was adjusting my care for them, but now I'm much more confident, so I'm buying more. So yeah, once you really go through that phase of making your succulents ugly, once you pass that phase, once you already know how to make your succulents beautiful right away, it will be just really easy to garden succulents for you. Once you manage to cross that phase of making your succulents ugly, after that it will be very easy for you to care for your succulents. It will be very quick to grow your succulents. Okay, once you find out the exact care that your plant needs in your location, you will find a lot more growth on them. I will really say this to you. I say this to you because I've already experienced it. There was the past years for me have been very rocky when I was caring for my succulents, which is why not a lot of them thrive. A lot of them have been killed off, have died, but now I'm seeing a lot more growth on my succulents. I'm actually more confident with growing them now, and this is the tips that I will be sharing with you. Okay, so I think that's about it for this video. I think I've ranted on for very long. If you really want to learn more about succulents and how to grow them, please make sure to hit the subscribe on this channel, and also you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram, Kale Plants. But my name is not Kale, my name is Mark. Okay, so you can call me Mark if you're commenting, or if you're gonna be sending me a message, a DM. You can call me Mark, not Kale. Okay, Kale is not my name, but Kale is the name of the channel and the garden that I have, Kale Plants. Okay, so I think that's about it for this video. I've ranted for too long, and please make sure to hit the thumbs up, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.